Hello everyone, welcome to Crypto World on Friday, August 23rd, 2024. Great news for AVAX. It's been doing well and now Tau Bittensaw is catching up. Grayscale is launching an AVAX product after recently launching on Tao and Bittensaw. This is excellent news for AVAX, and as usual, good news, like bad news, never comes alone. AVAX also received more good news on the same day. Franklin and Plankton are getting more attention. They're launching an increasing number of tokenized funds. Currently, they're mainly dealing with bonds on various blockchains, and now they'll work with Avalanche Network to launch real asset tokenization. AVAX is gaining momentum right now due to Grayscale and the shift in global positioning, which is changing. I think this token might surprise us in this bull market. This, however, is incredible. Remember when the Bitcoin ETF launched? Every day we saw record-breaking stats. It was historic, the world's best ETF launch. But for Ethereum, it's a disaster. We need to be very clear about this, and it's linked to Grayscale. Let's take a look. It's the worst launch ever. Check out the outflows. It's blood red. Of course, Grayscale's been selling daily since July 23rd. Look, they're selling in chunks of 300, 400, 500 million. Nearly $500 million at a time. Even though BlackRock has accumulated 1 billion ETH tokens, in the end it's massive. They keep selling, and I think it's simply, in my view, yes, it's tangible, yes, it's complex, it disrupts the ETF and Ethereum dynamic, but I believe it's just an opportunity. How long will this last? A few weeks, maybe months, and eventually when there's no more selling pressure, I think this period is very favorable. I've been saying lately, for those without Ethereum, I think it's an extremely good time to DCA short-term and accumulate Ethereum, taking advantage of the sale because it'll snap back like a rubber band. As selling slows, I think Ethereum will benefit, and it'll teach us a lesson for the next ones because, you know, with upcoming ETFs, there'll still be this pressure from Grayscale. For me, it's a super interesting topic. I'm looking at a few projects I might invest in over the coming months, possibly through ICOs, you know, everything Bitcoin related, especially Bitcoin restacking platforms. There's a new project called SatLayer that I'll be watching very closely. I won't hesitate to tell you about it if you're interested, because ultimately Bitcoin is where the most money is, plain and simple. Basically, there's no staking on Bitcoin. It's not proof of stake, it's proof of work. So that's a small drawback, meaning we can't put these hundreds of billions to work that are currently sitting idle in Bitcoin. All these topics are super interesting. SatLayer, working on these issues, raised 8 million in pre-seed, and the investor list is huge. Take a look. You'll see some major players, massive projects. I won't even name one. They're that big. I think this could be a project, you know, because one or two projects will come out of nowhere in the coming weeks, mostly duds. But this one I'll study closely when I return to France, and I'll prepare a brief for you if you're interested. TTR continues to crush it. They're going where the money is. Today, global economic momentum is in Asia and the Middle East. They're heading to the UAE in the Middle East to introduce a dirham-based stablecoin. It'll be interesting to see if it's backed by dollars or the local currency. I'll keep an eye on it, but it's still growing rapidly. Lastly, Chengbin Zhao, AKCZ, still in prison, but due for release on the 28th, I think September 22nd or so. He's been moved, so he might get out early. It's possible. I won't go into details as I don't know much, but he was under one federal prison bureau and has been transferred. So he might be released earlier than expected, which will be interesting to see. He's been there since April, I believe, or thereabouts. He's been in since April, I think, something like that. And finally, Donald Trump. It's getting huge because he's adopting the same stance as almost everyone who enters the crypto sector, understanding it as a counterweight. Cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, decentralized aspects without central authority. So it's the typical newcomer's perspective. He's likely new to crypto, and you know his son wants to dive into DeFi specifically to challenge the big banks. He's echoing the views of any crypto enthusiast, I'd say almost basic, except he's potentially a future US presidential candidate. Interestingly, he's promoting his son's project, the Defiance Ones, which is essentially based on DeFi. Again, what he's talking about, DeFi and such, has existed for 10 years, and it'll be interesting to follow, obviously. We see the Grayscale effect working for AVAX, plus Franklin's impact, and other news I've shared about this project that's been growing for years. And Tau is up 14%. People often say Tao's complex, but we've discussed it for 2 years and accumulated between 30 and 40. It's important to step back, which is why I'm not worried. I didn't sell during this phase and will sell much higher. Taking a broader view, I'm up 5x on this investment, even though it's lost 2/3 of its value. I believe the outlook is exceptional. We'll look at the charts. I've always said it's a steal under 400, and that hasn't changed. It's been under 400 for about 2.5 months now. We'll revisit this in a few months. The trading volumes are starting to look really good. I really expect more listings too. I see other platforms like Coinbase announcing them. We see BIX, Render, tokens coming back, Fetch, and Jamie performing well. Decent volumes, but low on Ethereum, hitting the 10 billion limit. 2006 is tough, 6,700. Let's check Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been in this tough range for 6 months. I think it's been that long. Tomorrow marks 180 days. We can call it 6 months of range. It's going to be huge. We see a small range, obvious without drawing. The top is key. The 50-day moving average is still a battle, as we've discussed. If the news is good, we'll break out and blast past all 3 moving averages. However, if it's negative or even positive, we might target the bottom of the range at 53,000 before moving on. It's a completely feasible scenario, but if you've waited 6 months, now's not the time to bail. The next 6 months could be wild. At some point, this market will inevitably shift. My 2025 strategy is that we'll start climbing from the top again. We might get some scares, but that doesn't invalidate the strategy. We're still in what I'd call a bull flag range. On a weekly chart, it's clearly a bull flag. Now, Tau looks great, but don't get too excited. As I said before, moving averages act as resistance. We've broken through the 50-day moving average and the 100-day on the daily chart. It seems confirmed, and the next target is 374. I think we're starting to turn around with the following target at 424.30, the 200-day moving average. At that point, we'd completely reverse the market. What's interesting is that there was a head and shoulders pattern. As we reverse this kind of pattern, notice how we make lower highs each time, lower and lower, repeatedly making lower highs. And actually, the reversal happened right here, in my opinion. That's what I've been closely watching these past few days, because if not, we'd truly have a head and shoulders if we hadn't made a higher high than this one. For me, it was a warning. We could have gone lower. This shoulder-head-shoulder pattern isn't fully confirmed yet. I've been consistent about this project for years. I've always said under 400 is a steal. I've always said under 400 is a steal. KB is trying something, but nothing crazy yet. Interestingly, the first resistance is the 50-day moving average, the old support level. We simply need to retest the 1 cent mark. Hopefully we'll hit 1 cent soon. That'll change the dynamic, but we face double resistance with the 50 MA and support base. Ankri is similar to KB, I think. It's struggling, but look, we crashed, then exploded. Now we're pulling back. It might be gaining momentum. See how it's its own big battle, like Bitcoin, with its 50-day moving average simply on anchor. Once it explodes, we'll switch to another fight. Then AVAX was very tough. It was brutal. AVAX is a major player in the top 10-12. From 65, it was set to hit 15. It did what Bitcoin did in the entire bear market, 65 to 15, but in just a few months. I didn't follow closely, but honestly, a 73% drop is extreme. It's recovering now, and I think it'll perform really well. Lastly, Numeraire is turning around nicely. It broke the 50-day MA and now faces the 100-day MA. I think it's a project with huge potential to watch. That's all from me. Have a great day and weekend. I'll see you soon.